Gensel on the right. He scores! Shane Gensel!
Hundley holds, steps up. Hundley sacks T.J. Watt. NFL history. Watt has tied Michael Strahan's single-season record. Oh, no.
In the air to right. This is deep. And he did it again. Jack Sawinski wins it for the Pirates. 3 home runs in a game.
Welcome to another live edition of Pittsburgh Sportsline in the BPTV studios. We appreciate all of you watching us out there. I'm Al Levine, the talking machine. We got Smoking Jim Frazier. Now, hold your breath for a second. We have Chip Hainer back after a second knee transplant. He made it in tonight for the first time in 2023. Smoking Jim.
Do you believe in miracles?
Yeah, I do. Great to have you. We're going to keep them quiet for now. We got Nick.
Not for long.
Okay. We got Nick VIP Callis, and we're going to do our show. Thank you for watching us on Comcast 7, only in Bethel Park. Thanks for watching us on Verizon 32 in Bethel Park, and all the way from Nemacolin, Cranberry, Wexford, Greater Pittsburgh area. On Facebook, we know we're over 6,900 likes, so we appreciate all of you. We've been doing Facebook Live for how long?
About a year and a half.
Year and a half, so thanks to all of you. Ralph is watching, thanks.
That's
We
my
appreciate
man.
that. And as you come on, I'll acknowledge you. If you have some comments that are nice, if you're not like negative Smoking Jim is, then
Press okay.
yeah. Sorry. My account got hacked and I'm restricted on some of the features I have, so it reminds me that I'm restricted. But yeah, some hacker put some porno on there and some banned words.
Wow.
And how can I be locked out of my account when they caught the hacker? Just saying. Facebook, I appreciate you, but when you're not doing things right, you suck. And I can say it because I'm living through this.
Tell us how you really feel, Alan.
Well, I'll be like all the criminals in Smoking Jim say, here's what they say, I am innocent. Well, guess what? I'm truly innocent, and I'm being punished. And that little thing came up. Chief said, welcome back, Chipper. Thanks for watching,
Chief.
Chip. And I got some promos, and we got Johnny Mariano on the camera. Let's see what he does. This is my good friend that doesn't like sports, but he's in for the talking machine and his promos. Let's see what we got.
Boom!
Yeah.
Wow. Olive Oil's Pizzeria sponsors us with a steak hoagie and a pepperoni pizza. Hillcrest Shopping Center, 412-831-1900. All right, next one up. Let's see what Johnny's doing here. We end each show with Stay Joey Strong. And poor Joey died at 8 years old to a dreaded brain cancer called DIPG. Nice shot there, Johnny. And you can go to their Joey Fabus Childhood Cancer Foundation.org, or you can check out their Facebook page and learn more about Joey. And the family's raised over $100,000 to find a cure for DIPG. All right, next up, another 501c3. We got Always Be Smiling. The B stands for Bennett, the smiling handicapped child who had 2 kidney transplants. He died at 16 and a half. And his parents, Kristen and Dean, started Always Be as Bennett, Smiling. Go to their Facebook page. Thank you to the 400-some friends of mine that like the page. They do a lot of great things for young kids that need kidney transplants. Next up, another 501c3. We'll see what Johnny does on this. I'm having a
Okay.
problem there. I think my restrictions.
Yeah,
are
you
being
can't. Here, you can use my phone. I'll get it to you.
Okay, yeah. I
you can't see comments because you're in Facebook jail.
No, I'm allowed to post. Thank you for all of you watching my loose leaf green tea weather report and my positive post every day.
Oh, there you go. There, I got you.
Well, it keeps coming back.
Here, then
with
just
that
use my phone. There you go.
Yeah, just don't make any of those illegal posts.
I'm innocent.
On Nick, you know?
Chip has
Blame
spoken.
it on a hacker.
I'm innocent. I'm innocent. My kids.
You missed me, right?
Yeah. And my kids have taught me not to click on everything like Smoking Jim. So, there, how's that come back? All right. Bethel Park Historical Society Schoolhouse Arts and History Center, 2600 South Park Road, red and white trolley. You can't miss it. They're a 501c3. They redid completely a 1905 original schoolhouse in Bethel Park. Reginald's Coffee with the best coffee in the area is there. Check them out. All right, let's see how Johnny does on a bigger sheet. All right, thanks to Amy. She says, hi, guys. Welcome back, Chip and Nick. That's right.
Oh, I wasn't. That's right. I wasn't here last week.
Yeah, very good eye, Amy. All right, what do we got here? Is that close up there? What's going on? We got Ryan came back. He quit last year and he's back with us.
All right, Ryan.
There it is. Look at that. I'm a trustee on the BP Bethel Park Foundation, Community Foundation. It's bpcf.org. We give out over $100 million in 26 years to groups in Bethel Park that want to make our community better. If you want to be one of them, get an application. We have a meeting every 2 months. We got one on Thursday, so grab your app and send it in to us. All right, let's get this, Johnny. All right, let's see what he got. There's my face. Dave Cable likes to have a little fun at my expense. He put me on Uncle Sam. I want you for BPTV. We have a new intern, Henry. He's giving the camera on me. We got Johnny Mariano. We got his son, Michael here.
That's my favorite.
The father, son. That's Negative Smoking Jim, always putting somebody out there and disrespecting the dad. Unbelievable. We got Ryan in the control room on the ones and twos. Call 412-831-3304 if you're in high school. Give us a call. We got Rowan in here.
Yeah.
He's a 7th grader. It's his 2nd week in a row. And he's in the control room already.
Gateway Gator.
He's bringing you our voices. He's
And
got the sound.
We have a quote from last week directly from Rowan. I live in Bethel Park. I go to Bethel Park schools. I play soccer. And I will continue to live in Bethel Park. And then he goes on the side after. He goes, who's this Smoking Jim think he is? And Rowan's very, very shy. So I made up half of that. Next up, my friends at the Post-Gazette are on strike. You may have differing opinions if you own businesses. There's always, as Chip told me, there's 2 sides of the story. This one side of the story is the union workers were not offered health care anymore. They had an agreement, a continuation of a contract from 7 years ago. The unions offered $1,200 to pay for insurance till the end of the year. The company said, we'll meet you tomorrow. They go to the door in Clinton, PA, where the meeting was, and they go, we won't be in today.
Wow.
The unions went on strike because they all lost their benefits. I don't know about you. If you're paying for benefits, you know how expensive they can be. If you have benefits with a company and they take it away, what do? So I say cancel your subscriptions, all except for Chip. He's been doing it online for 50 years, and I can't change him. He's old and stubborn. But all the rest of you, cancel your subscriptions. And they're printing it in a scab newspaper, the Butler Eagle. So people are actually throwing the papers away and distributing it that way. I worked 36 years at the Post-Gazette. I have empathy for them. I say to the Post-Gazette, just do the right thing and go out of business.
Wow.
That's just my opinion based on years of facts and negotiating. When you hire King Ballou, Smoking Jim doesn't understand it, a union-busting law firm, and they don't even look at any of your proposals from the unions, you're not going to go anywhere. So I know how to negotiate. Don't be like the NFL Players Union, accept the first offer. Have a good day. What's on your mind, Smoking Jim Frazier?
Thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine. And if you want the green,
Coming at you.
you got to see Levine. That was my basket McCutcheon catch right there. And I tell you
Why
what,
are you mentioning McCutcheon all of a
I
sudden?
tell you what, you know,
You
I'm
were
a-
never a fan of his.
I'm a big fan of the Pittsburgh
Hold
Pirates.
it. Wait, I got to disclaim
Wait,
this. Can,
Bandwagon Jim.
yeah. Can we pull back? Can we pull back any of the tapes when Smoking Jim said McCutcheon, when he cut his dreads, will
Yeah.
never be the same?
I was
I
right.
found you
I
saying
was
that.
right. I was right again.
I can,
So
I
it
can
was
verify.
there?
It was
Thank
there.
Thank
so
you, sir.
when was he a fan of Kutch?
I'd say you weren't.
Before the haircut.
No, you never talked about him. You never talked about him.
But I
So-
tell you what, I'm a fan of Johnny B. Good, and we got Hammer and Hank wearing the Nike jersey, man. Welcome back. I just got one question, Chip. Did your doctors take your money and go to the golf course, or is there any evidence they're operating? I gotta help you to the car after the show.
Yeah. If I
Getting
could
better?
roll my pant leg up, you would see the evidence. It's about 14 inches long.
But what's
Whoa.
on,
The
but
scar on my knee.
Oh, okay.
That
what's
is.
on my
That's a
mind?
family-friendly
The
show.
scar on my knee.
What's on my mind? Something else that Nick would be able to find.
All right,
when
check it out in advance, Nick.
When I said that I was proud of my Pittsburgh Steelers for hanging in there with Cincinnati Bengals, I said Cincinnati Bengals was the best team in all of football, and the Pittsburgh Steelers was right there with the Cincinnati Bengals. And now finally I'll say this, and I'll move on to Chip. If I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers, I take a page from Joe Burrows after his rookie year told them to go after Chase, his former receiver at LSU. That's doing good. Kenny Pickett said go after Addison.
Jordan
Addison would automatically be the Steelers' #1 receiver if he comes here next year. Take a page, first-round draft pick. And that's what's on my mind.
Bandwagon Jim strikes again.
I like to be right.
Well, this disclaimer will tell you. I saw Tony from Chick-fil-A.
That's
He
my
said,
dude.
I like watching, sometimes I need entertainment, so I watch Tuesday nights. We stopped in at the remodeled Chick-fil-A on Washington Road, and it was great. He waited on us, and he puts down my name because you have to say your name there.
Yeah.
They're all going like, who's Smoking Jim? So Drew bought me a chicken sandwich. The double line worked great there. The service was great.
Wow.
The sandwich was even better. Nice piece of chicken, Smoking Jim. You
Wow.
don't know what it's like, but it was good. And he said, he goes, is Smoking Jim really like that all the time?
Only when he's awake. and just so you all know, he never sleeps.
Welcome back, Chip. Chip Hayner, I know you got a lot on your mind. When we talked for 30 seconds, you threw out 2 or 3 things to me the other day, so take it away. You got a couple here. Ryan in the control room, we're going to give him a few extra minutes just to give an update on what's truly on his mind except for the knee.
Except for the knee. Well, it's a pleasure to be back. Great sitting next to my brother from another mother, Smoking Jim, with Alan, with Mr. Callis, huh? No, with my dear friend Nick. It's great to have you back. Great to be back. So, what's been on my mind? What has happened since I was here last? Last time y'all saw
Last
or heard
year.
from me was before Thanksgiving. So at that point, you know, everything was still in a shamble for the Steelers. We were firing Mike Tomlin. We were firing Matt Canada. You know, the Steelers were a wreck of an organization, and so forth and so on. But, you know, all the fuss that was made about the Steelers this year, you know, when I sit back and reflect on the season, really what did people expect at the beginning of the season? Here you've got a Pittsburgh Steelers team that started the season without a quarterback, without an offense, because you had an offensive coordinator who installed a new offense. You had an untested receiver core. You had an offensive line that didn't exist. You had a high-priced defense with no depth. No depth, okay? And, did anybody really expect the Steelers to come firing out of the gate?
I got to interrupt you
6
1
or
second.
7-0.
Rhetorically, everybody since we drafted Pickett thought we'd have a winning team and a great quarterback. That's what they truly thought because of the Kool-Aid drinking media.
So-
just had to interject that.
Here's the questions, and these are all rhetorical questions. I don't need anybody to answer
Understand.
them.
I
But
broke
these
the
are the
rule.
questions that I reflected on at the end of the year. Were the Steelers better off at quarterback at the end of the year than they were at the beginning of the year? The answer to that question is yes. Do the Steelers have a franchise quarterback? I am not sold yet that Kenny Pickett is a franchise quarterback. He is a serviceable NFL quarterback that can win games for you based on the team around him. And I mean both offense, defense, and special teams. Was the Steelers' offense better at the end of the year than it was at the beginning of the year? And the answer to that question is yes, even though it was only the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter that it actually did. But still, that was an improvement from the beginning part of
Here's
the
what
year.
I'm doing with your rhetorical. There's too many rebuttals.
The next thing, was the Steelers' offensive line better at the end of the year than they were at the beginning of the year? And we saw marked improvement in all phases of the game. The wide receiver core, I believe that's one of the weaknesses of the team right now. They're inexperienced. Deontay Johnson, you ought to go and spend a month with Jack Tatum. Get some of that, stick them on your hands. My young friend, you drop way too many balls. George Pickens needs to mature and quit being, quit pouting every time he doesn't get the ball. And the Steelers do need help in their wide receiver core when it comes to the draft this year. Some of the things that the Steelers need to address this year through free agency and the draft. They need defensive line help. They need linebacker depth.
Yes, sir.
They need depth in the secondary. They need to bolster their offensive line. They need wide receiver help, and they do need depth at running back because one thing about running backs, you can get them later in the draft, 4th, 5th round, and they're good enough, but that's the most fragile position on the team. And you can't go into the season, what is it, Jalen, who is
Jalen
it?
Hurts.
What's that?
Jalen Warren.
Oh, Jalen.
Jalen Warren and Najee Harris, good 1-2 punch. Benny Snell football, go back to Kentucky. So
He has the record there for
all
running back.
things said, the Steelers ended up 9-8, and and I think it was a testament to the coaching staff that all they were was maligned all year. And if you think about it, I can name 4 games that the Steelers should have won. They were in a position to win. They should have beat the Jets. They should have beat the Patriots. They should have beat the Dolphins, and they should have beat the Ravens the first time they played them.
Yeah.
And you think about that for a minute. Then you got a team that's 9-8, that's 13-4. Now, even if they won those games, would they have gone anywhere in the playoffs this year? I don't think so. Okay? But that all being said, there's a lot of positives going into the offseason into next year with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Number one. Number 2, Pittsburgh Penguins. Pittsburgh Penguins, this may be the first year in 16 or 17 years that the Pittsburgh Penguins do not make the playoffs. The Penguins have been hot and cold, and they have played miserably against some of the worst teams in the league. 3 of their next 4 games against the Capitals, the defending champions, it was that Colorado Avalanche,
Yeah.
and the Florida Panthers. 3 of their next 4 games against 3 of the top teams in the league. And how are they going to stand up to them? Now, they got Letang back, they got Jari back, but the Penguins have just been way too inconsistent. And unless they have a major shake-up there and make some changes, I think it's going to be a long off season for the Penguins. That's my opinion there. And last but not least, my beloved Pittsburgh Pirates. finally did something that will generate some heat for the team in a positive way and put fannies in the seats, signed Andrew McCutchen. How that came about, the story's out there. Look it up online. It's a great story. I think Andrew McCutchen is going to be a big help to the team, and I don't think that he's necessarily going to be the core power of the team. He's going to be the elder statesman. He's going to teach these young, talented players how to be Major League Baseball players and how to win. Because when McCutchen was drafted by the Pirates, came up through the Pirates system, 2 of the first 3 years that he played for the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Pirates lost 100 games. He knows what it's like to lose. He also knows what it takes to win, and he can pass this information on to the next generation, the O'Neill Cruzes, the Ke'Bryan Hayeses. I do believe that Brian Reynolds will be in the outfield for the Pirates come opening day, and there's going to be a lot to look forward to this year. More about the Pirates as we get closer to spring training. But it's just great to be back and to be talking about sports again with some of my dear friends here. And that's what's on my mind.
Hold it. He may not be done rhetorically.
Go ahead.
He doesn't know what that means.
The one exciting thing about having McCutch back is he's less than like 30 hits away from Parker and the guy we know,
Oliver.
Al Oliver.
Well, but not as many. McCutchen this year, if he performs as he did last year, he'll hit 300. He'll break 300 home runs for his career. He'll hit the 2,000 hit plateau. Okay, and Parker and Al Oliver both had about 26 or 2,700 hits. But there's a lot of things. But the one thing I want to say about McCutchen and what McCutchen's going to do is that all of the hypocrites that have all of the hypocrites that have said that they will never go and see another Pirate game, if you get in my way and stand up while the pitcher's in his windup, I'm going to push you down the steps because I know that people are going to come back and they're going to show very little baseball etiquette. So maybe if you're going to come back to the ballpark, learn about baseball etiquette. It'll make the rest of us that are there to see the game enjoy it much more.
If you're McCutchen, would you change your number of your jersey?
He's not going to.
So it can generate ticket sales. I said if you were.
No. If I was Andrew McCutchen,
would that
Andrew McCutchen's number is 22.
You'd have to buy another jersey.
That's not tickets. That's not ticket revenue.
No, did I say tickets?
You misspoke.
That's why I was confused.
As far as marketing, that's what I would
No,
do.
you know what? Everybody that spent all their money on those McCutchen jerseys, they're all still valid now. Keep wearing them. Buy more.
I got one.
Chip, Tony from Chick-fil-A's watching. Hey, Tony, great to see and talk to you. Thanks for listening us as Smoking Jim. They were confused there. He has a question, Chip. What is the greatest baseball game you ever watched or listened to on the radio? And Smoking Jim's excluded.
Hands down, October 1st, 2013, Pittsburgh Pirates against the Cincinnati Reds. The wild card play-in game, the Cueto game. The Cueto game. 20 years of losing. Going into the stadium that night, you could feel the energy once you crossed the Clemente Bridge. The entire North Shore was just jumping, and every single pitch, everybody was on their seat. I had a guy sitting in front of me at that game, and with every pitch that was thrown that Liriano threw that was a strike, he turned around and in the same order, he high-fived the entire row. He did it the whole entire game. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
It was so much fun. That was the single most electric sports event I've ever been to here in Pittsburgh in my life.
Mine was 79 World Series, closing it out with Steve Blass and I think Kent Tekulve. With that game, that was one of the greatest.
The 2-1 Blast. No, that was the 79. Okay.
Yeah, 79.
79.
Yeah.
Blast.
That's 71 was just as great, so I had to pick between those.
Those two were both played in Baltimore.
Yes.
Let's not forget.
That's why I didn't forget.
I mean, I've been to AFC championship games and things of that nature. I've been to Stanley Cup finals, and I want to tell you something. That wild card play-in game ending 20 years of losing was special.
That was a good game, but I'm old school. I'm going with 79. Nick, what do you think? Smoking Jim, you're still excluded.
My favorite baseball game.
That screensaver is from that game.
Wow.
The favorite baseball game I listen to on radio
Or TV.
or TV.
He said watch or radio.
Well, I'll go for radio because this is a unique experience. I was on my way back from home to Waynesburg in Game 7 of the 2019 World Series, and I didn't watch it live, but I listened to Howie Kendrick's go-ahead home run off of Will Harris to put the Nationals up 3-2 at the time, and I got back to watch them score more and eventually win. But I listened to that home run while I was in the car on the way back to Waynesburg. That made me excited because I hated the Astros back then, and I still kind of do now. But that's my answer.
You know what? And that's World Series games are always going to be special. I remember the game that I listened to on the radio was Game 7 of the 1971 World Series. We were in grade school. I was in 6th grade, and I was at Highlands Elementary School over here in Whitehall. And I brought my dad's transistor radio in, and I had it in my desk with an ear.
You had the earphone. Yeah,
and the
earphone.
teacher saw that, and she was like, "Mr. Hayner, what are you doing?" And I was like, "Nothing." Well, you know what? You better let everyone else listen to that. We took the earphone out, we put it on my desk, and we listened. Because
What a good teacher.
back in 1971, there was World Series games were played in the daytime.
No, I know. I was 15 back then, so I know I had my transistor
I was 11.
in mind. Yeah, I'm a little bit ahead of you. Smoking Jim, you're not allowed to
I'm
talk
just
about
saying, this is a
baseball.
true story.
Tony said, so
Now,
I got to ignore
It'll be
you.
quick. It'll
No,
be
it's
quick.
not
It's true
even
story.
funny, and it's
no, it's not.
negative.
It's true story.
Then we don't want to hear it.
I was in Georgia, watching on TV when Hank Aaron went past Babe Ruth.
Who was pitching?
Right there. I just remember the black guy on TV going around the base.
Being chased.
I was in Georgia. Hey, about 3 miles from the stadium.
Being chased by a bunch
Smoking
of white
Jim.
people, right?
I got to do the disclaimer on Smoking Jim. For all of you that think he's racist, these are his own true opinions. He is a black man, and these are his opinions, and some consider it racism. He doesn't project what we talk about, or he doesn't represent BPTV either, or our community. He's only on his little island in that gateway where it's always sunny.
Few hours later, I was on a midnight train from Georgia home.
Disclaimer, you can't steal a song and tell us that's what you did. All right? This is so nonsensical. Chip,
That's true,
welcome
though.
back.
That's true. I was in Georgia.
We don't know which part. Nick VIP Callis, what's on your mind?
Well, a lot now. Thank you, Smoking, for that nonsense. So I'll bring it to the NFL. I got some baseball talk a little bit, and I also can't believe that I didn't mention McCutcheon signing. I've been lost in sports news. I didn't even mention that in my segment last week, so I forgot when that happened. But we'll get to baseball stuff. I'm sad that the Bills lost. I like the Bills. That was one of my teams I actually thought would make the Super Bowl, and now the fact that everybody's saying that they saw it coming makes me sad because I didn't. So, congrats to the Bengals.
I'm with you.
Congrats.
I'm with you. I
Well,
thought
good.
they would break the curse because anytime you lose like they have,
It's
and
bound to be
and
broken,
don't
right?
win a Super Bowl, you would think so, but circumstances
This is-
beyond their control.
This is the millennium to break curses, but apparently not. So
Hold it. Breaking news.
What's that?
Marco Rohde's watching us. I miss you
Ooh.
guys, but I'll be back next week.
Let's go, Marco, my man.
All right, Marco.
Texting from the event.
No, he's in Gateway right now. Go ahead, Nick.
All right, so sad about the Bills. I already think I said that the Vikings were a pit of failure. They lost in the last round. Who was the team? The Giants. Poor Giants. I actually don't feel bad about them. Or the Cowboys. I still hate the Cowboys, and they just have relentless failure themselves.
All of us except for Smoking Jim are laughing at the Cowboys and Jerry Jones. He went silent. Mr. Conversationalist, better than me, went silent on his radio show today and canceled. So imagine what
R.I.P.
questions they would have asked. Go
So,
ahead.
But
so
One
you know,
second.
I was just going to say this
Little
because I
interruption.
got to give him a shot. It is typical of a Mike McCarthy coach team to soil the sheets in the fourth quarter, and the Cowboys have done it 2 years in a row.
All right, Nick, sorry for the interruptions, but you know when Smoking Jim's spewing nonsense and it doesn't stop, it carries on. So
well, we'll carry on with this. No, I mean,
go ahead.
the Cowboys are the most interesting one to me because, I mean, I guess they always say it's their year, but I haven't always heard it's their year because But their last Super Bowl was before I was born, so think about that too.
I mean, 30 years ago.
So think about that. That was '95, and I was born in '98. So think about that a little bit. But also, Cooper Rush was doing well for them, and then they go back, and I feel like they have to play Dak Prescott because they're paying him so much. You're not going to pay him to not play. So I believe that. But they're in trouble right now, and part of in that because I don't like them. And they're America's team and all their nonsense. And they're trapped now because they're paying Dak Prescott a lot. The only way they could possibly make things better is if they trade him, but I feel like he's not even good enough to be traded. So it's one of those cases where I'm rejoicing in their failure. And I don't do that with many teams, but the Cowboys are one of those teams where I hate. It's kind of like the Packers when they lost and they got eliminated from the playoffs when they lost to the Lions. That was a part of my time rejoicing because Aaron Rodgers has turned out to be terrible. But, yeah, the Cowboys the same way. My Super Bowl pick at this moment, I think the Bengals are going to redeem themselves and win in the Super Bowl this year. And I had them winning it last year, so perhaps they won't disappoint me again this year. The year that I wanted them to win, they didn't win, and I feel like the year I didn't want them to win, they're going to surge through and make it happen. That's what's on my mind. There you go.
Fly,
Nick's-
Eagles, fly.
Yeah, my son Drew said hi, Nick. And he was
Hi, Drew.
He was waiting
Is
for
that
your
me saying
segment.
he picked the Eagles?
All right,
No,
what's
he said
on my
Bengals.
mind? Are you guys okay there? All right, I'll do what's on my mind. I want to address some of Chip's, but I won't really, and because we've talked about some of it before. I did have one bone to pick with you about who's responsible, coaches or players. I see different teams that have coaches pump up their players and they coach them up. And I have a question with you with the Steelers. It's not rhetorical. When you're 2-6, who's responsible? When you're 7-2, the second half, do you have the same coaches and players? And that part of it is rhetorical. It's all yes. So my theory was coaches can coach up players that are young and rookies and first-year players. The only one that bets on them is 10 out of 5,000 Smoking Jim brought first-year quarterbacks could be starters. Now we got to add Purdy, 7-0. But do you see improvements? I was negative. The offensive line couldn't block. Najee got healthy, got rid of his steel-toed boot and Herman Munster shoe, and he ran for 1,000 yards again because they were blocking some of the defense. They weren't 4 and 5 yards in the backfield. They were 2 to 3 and 1 yard in the backfield, half of them, and that's still there, but they did improve. Kenny Pickett doesn't see the whole field. When he won a couple games in the last 5 minutes, he shows some skills. Is he a franchise quarterback? I do not believe so. Is he an average or good, potentially, quarterback?
Serviceable.
I agree, yeah.
Serviceable.
So I agree with those type of things. But I want to go counter to look at the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, with Smoking Jim, he knows that their offensive line was terrible. And they've got new players in. And then now they're in the playoffs this last game. What would our team be like if 3 of their starting linemen didn't play? Wow. Everybody in the media was saying, we know Joe Burrow's good and he's cool Joe and he can do this, but how's he going to do it with 3 second or third string linemen? Guess what? They showed everybody that they could block, because I got to pick on you again with coaches. They had the right plan of blocking. What did they do? They ran the ball. So guess what offensive linemen like to do? Run and hit people. So they started with that. And what did they do? They kept knocking down guys that were coming in because they were used to taking 2-3 steps forward and hitting a guy, unlike what we saw the first half of the Steelers season. So that's what I'm saying. You can see the improvements, but they had 3 guys that were non-starters on a line. And wouldn't you say, quoting him, the Bengals look like the best team in the NFL? I dispute that, but you know, an opinion-wise on what the results were, you got to give hats off to them with what they did.
So to speak to your point, you know, and this is a problem with the NFL just in general,
Yeah.
not so much Steelers, Bengals, whomever.
Well, I was talking specifics 'cause we live it.
The teams don't get a chance to practice and develop in the off season. They play football in shorts. Okay, they don't hit each other. They don't put on pads. You know, when the Steelers started the season, the very first time all 5 offensive linemen played together was the first snap of the first game. They had 3 preseason games and none of them played. So how do you expect them to get any continuity and to get on the same page?
No, I'm
and,
with-
and
yeah.
I will tell you what, my hat's off to the Steelers offensive line coach because that guy
Pat Myers.
earned his pay this year, no doubt. And I'm telling you what, they need to keep him around because he's the best offensive line coach we've had since Munchak left.
Well, Chip, I got to give you credit on that because our dispute was coaches or players, and you said the players have to perform, but I was just saying that you and I were both coached up by good dads. Through whatever means they did, they coached us up to be better players.
I had a
Smoking
dad.
Jim, I'll put him in there because Urkel wouldn't have run if he didn't have a dad with a belt chasing him. Now, you know how fast you can get when you look like Urkel.
But you know, players
that's
players
part
need
of
to
it.
be held accountable. Where coaching came in with this season could have got away from the Steelers very easily.
Oh, one game away.
You know what I mean? And what the coaching staff did was they stayed the course, and they got the team to buy into what they were doing, which eventually started producing results. And the players got the confidence in the coaches because you know the coaches didn't panic and blow everything up.
And the other thing I'll
All
tell
this
you.
black and gold excuses going around today.
Well, the reality.
There's nothing to excuse.
What are you
It's a
talking about
simple
over there?
fact.
Yes, this was a Super Bowl caliber team from day one before the season started, and you guys are still getting
Wait a
Mike
minute.
Tomlin
Wait a
excuses.
minute. On what
the only,
planet?
The only
On what
reason,
planet?
the only reason the Cincinnati Bengals hadn't been here in the playoffs before was because of Marvin Lewis.
He
This
almost
was
forgot.
just Cincinnati's been great for the last 15 years. They didn't have the coach, and the Pittsburgh
Where's he
Steelers
from,
don't have a
Marvin
coach.
Lewis? Where's he
Fort
from?
Cherry.
Thank you. I know you appreciate the neighborhood.
The highest paid defense in all of football. You
With
had
no depth.
you had it. How much depth you need?
Da-
You had the number
TJ
one, the
Watt.
highest paid
TJ
defense in
Watt
all
got-
of football.
Wait, stop.
Bush is one of your
Stop.
inside linebackers.
Stop.
Huh?
Stop. TJ Watt was injured, and they didn't win a game. They didn't win a game
More
without
black and
TJ
gold
Watt
excuses.
until they played the
Some
Buccaneers.
More black and gold excuses.
No, that serves his point. They need
no,
Devin
his-
Bush was
Your,
the
your
inside
point and
linebacker.
his point is they played a team with a pulse the first half of the season. The second half of the season, they played all bums.
I
See,
don't
now,
think.
there you go.
I don't think.
They-
we-
they- they-
I don't
all
think it-
bums.
I don't think
They
anybody
played-
said that.
Anyway,
Oh, they should have beat the
any-
Ravens with their third string
Any way you can
quarterback.
chop down the Steelers because every game
mean,
every
being
game the
honest.
Steelers won this year, they played against an inferior team. And you know what? They played an NFL pro football team and they beat them. Okay. Oh well, the Steelers beat them. Oh, then they must be a terrible team. I thought this was a Super Bowl caliber team. You just contradicted yourself.
Well, I just wanted to share that I'm still on what's on my mind. But I appreciate Chip and Jim going back.
I missed this.
No, I understand. And Smoking Jim, we respect you, but I can't agree to disagree with
I don't
you.
want to fire a black man this close to Black History Month.
Well, disclaimer again. He only talks about Black history, no offense meant, during February.
The second greatest coach in Steelers history.
No, so we'll move on from that. But one other thing, enough with the Cincinnati Steeler comparison. I'm not comparing because our standard is the standard. It's mediocre because it's been 12 years since the Super Bowl. But Smoking Jim doesn't mention that, even though we're going every year. But in his opinion,
Yeah, with a D- draft grade.
every year. All right, we covered that. One more point. One of the greatest young quarterbacks in the league had a high ankle sprain, was arguing about getting put back in the game before they MRI'd him or checked to see if he had a broken leg. And Smoking Jim, we've had players that their careers were over
Yes, sir.
with high ankle sprains.
Yes, sir.
We had announcers in the booth that had high ankle sprains and their careers were over. Guess who's going to be starting the game? One of the best young quarterbacks, been to the championship game 5 years in a row,
Yeah.
won an MVP and a Super Bowl.
Yes, sir.
Mahomes. My money's on Mahomes, no matter what excuses you make up, Jim, or anybody else. What he showed, not only being a great talent, but the character and class. I'll spell it C-L-A-S-S. The class that he has to lead his team when he's crippled up.
Yes, sir.
You also know that the best quarterback in the 2022 NFL draft is playing against the Eagles on Sunday. The last pick in the draft, Mr. Irrelevant,
Yes.
is starting against the Philadelphia
And
Eagles.
Smoking Jim
I wish we had him.
Smoking Jim admitted off air.
Wait.
When I said, "How did you miss it?" He goes, "I missed it." Number 262 in the draft. He missed
Mr.
it.
Irrelevant.
Can I make a clarification real quick?
7-0.
Are you saying Brock Purdy over Kenny Pickett?
I wish we had Purdy.
That
I-
no, you're avoiding the question.
Can
and
I-
you
Why
know
won't he
it.
answer it straight up?
Can
Go
I
away.
Share, can I share a piece of useless information
Yes.
with you? The last time Jalen Hurts and Brock Purdy played one another,
Yes.
they threw 11 touchdown passes combined.
Iowa State
Brock Purdy
and Oklahoma?
threw 6 touchdowns, and Jalen Hurts threw 5 as Oklahoma.
I saw that
Wow.
on TV
Who
today.
won?
I'd have to
Iowa
Google it
State
to find out.
Oklahoma. That was
But
good.
I
No,
just
it was
that's
Jalen Hurts
amazing.
won.
Jalen Hurts won, but Brock Purdy was a freshman that year.
Wow.
6 touchdown passes.
Wow.
And everybody missed on him besides the San Francisco 49ers.
Wow.
Yeah.
He was a 4-year starter. They missed it.
All right, let's go 10 seconds. Fiction and fact with Smoking Jim's Almanac. It's been a while. We got the last 16 minutes to go.
I got to save some time for my man, Nick. I
Okay,
always
we'll go
enjoy
move
hearing
on to
Nick.
Chip right now.
No,
Oh,
I'll
I
go
thought you were
real
being
quick.
honest.
No, I'll go quick. Hey, Al Levine, the talking
Yes.
machine. Everybody knows that I hate racism, especially reverse racism. How can a guy grow up in Ohio, be all state in football, be all state in basketball, be all state in baseball, go to Ohio State where they refuse to play white quarterbacks and Joe Burrow? Philadelphia Eagles have played more white quarterbacks in the last 15 years than Ohio State. It's a shame. I don't care if you're Dan Marino. It hasn't been since Mike Tomczak and Art Schlichter since Ohio State played a white quarterback and Art Schlichter won the job through a bet. Listen, Al Levine, the talking machine, it's
Anybody
a
that
shame.
doesn't know he was a degenerate gambler like Smoking
Like
Jim.
Pete Rose.
Same type of guy.
But I'm going to wrap it up with this. It's a shame that a kid with that kind of talent, that kind of ability, grows up in Ohio, but has to transfer to Louisiana, LSU to win a national championship and then to be able to play in the National Football League because a school like Ohio State refuses to play white quarterbacks or white cornerbacks. And I'm not going to rest until they change their policies. And that's what's on my mind. If you're
that-
white, you're all
Wrong.
right.
Put that on Urban Meyer.
Wrong segment.
Yeah, wrong thing. Well, Smoking Jim, I give
Did I say
Burrow
something?
and his family all the credit in the world.
For transfer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to give the family that, backing him to do that.
Good
Because
thing
you're
they got
at,
that good money.
you're at the Ohio State.
Yeah.
So, all right, we're going to move on to trivia time with Chip Hayner, 10 seconds.
All right. Well, everybody, welcome back. And my first trivia, 2 people I want to recognize tonight. And I was a bit shocked this evening. Major League Baseball announced their 2023 Hall of Fame inductees. And Scott Rowland was elected into the Hall of Fame. Scott Rowland had a career batting average of .281, hit 316 home runs, 1,287 RBIs, a
Pedestrian.
career OPS of 855. He won 8 Gold Gloves over the course of his career, was a 6-time All-Star. I personally would not have voted for him if I had a vote, but he was elected in with the proper amount of votes, and congratulations. Next up, I'd like to make a mention of an old-time bucko who passed away last
Yeah.
week. Frank Thomas, and if you've followed the Pirates since the 50s or 60s, you know who Frank Thomas is. What I remember of Frank Thomas, because he played before I was old enough to really know anything. But I remember him coming to my high school in my senior year, and he gave a speech in front of one of my classes, and we were like, who is this guy, you know? But you know, he was
Who's this old guy?
Yeah, he had a distinguished career, and unfortunately, a member of the Pirate family has passed, and you know, my condolences to him and his family, and may he rest in peace.
Great tribute there, no doubt about it. Heard many great things about him, and he was
I thought it was the Frank Thomas was on all those commercials.
he's on the juice. So he
He never
that
played for the
juice.
Pirates either. So.
Yeah, we're good.
And he played for the White Sox, Jim.
Yeah. All right, thanks, Chip. All right, let's go to VIP time.
Let's talk about the Hall of Fame, though, because on the Cook and Joe show this morning I was producing, and I heard an argument between two guys that I like, Joe Starkey and Ron Cook, who were talking about the Baseball Hall of Fame. Ron Cook sent in his ballot blank this year. He's on the Baseball Writers Association, but he decided not to vote for anybody because he didn't think anybody was worthy, and he also doesn't support cheaters. And Joe Starkey said, well, with all the people that are in the Hall of Fame that are bad people, racists, and apparently Ty Cobb might be a murderer. We found out today from some callers. What do we do about that?
If you read the history, there is some proof there.
Yeah. Why? So why is Ron Cook charged with defending a Hall of Fame that really is of hypocrisy, or that lets in people that are ultimately bad people for their character in their now as compared to what the times were. But and I was thinking about it, and Ron Cook kind of reeled me back in a little bit because the way he posed his argument was, I mean, Joe wasn't phasing him at all, but what he was saying kind of made sense. He said, when the character clause is there, I'm going to enforce it. I didn't vote for any of those guys who are known racists or Ty Cobb is a murderer. I voted for who I voted for since I've been on the ballot since I've had a ballot for roughly 35 years. So in that regard, I can understand where you don't want to let cheaters of the game in, and I'll say that. I was once on this show and publicly spoken about being mad at the writers because I said, why are you guys sitting up high acting like you're morally better than everybody when there are these known cheaters and other bad people in the Hall of Fame. Ron made it seem like, though, he kind of backpedaled a little bit and kind of was convincing me a little bit because he's not voting for the people that we define altogether as bad people. He's just making sure that who he knows now as cheaters, whether that's the Astros cheating or the performance-enhancing drugs that made certain players play better, that he wants to keep them out while he has that power. And if he doesn't believe that anybody deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, he shouldn't have to turn in a ballot. And I was mad at first because if I had a ballot, I would use it, and I would like that because I like baseball. And right now I'm moving up in the media, but I don't have one. We shouldn't take Ron Cook's ballot away from him, though, I'll say that. His opinion isn't, I wouldn't say it's wrong. And I'll backpedal a little bit and say that I'm not necessarily mad anymore at the baseball writers because as they define whatever they define, as long as it's there, they can have their opinions. And I guess cheating overall is bad. I think Barry Bonds was not a great person to the media, but I also feel like in a world where everybody was taking steroids in baseball and was being exciting taking steroids, he was a victim of the circumstances of that time, whether he wasn't going to make as much money as somebody else who hit more home runs because he had more natural talent. That's my belief. But did he still cheat? Yeah, he still cheated. I'll still maintain that he should be in the Hall of Fame, but Ron Cook's definition also isn't wrong. So the conclusion I've come to today is that I'm not necessarily mad at the writers because now I know one. I didn't know when I started on this show that Ron Cook was on the Baseball Writers Association of America. Now I do. And just seeing, not just being angry at this generic baseball writer in my head, looking at Ron Cook and what he's about, I'm kind of with it. The way he's explaining it and defending himself against Starkey, I'm like, I get it. I don't fully agree with it, but I get some of the things. So here's the conclusion. I'm mad at just baseball together. It's all broken and it's all really kind of bad, and there's just a lot of things wrong with it, and it's really, 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 really hard for somebody like me to like baseball. All the guys I grew up with were the steroid guys that made it exciting. Those are the faces that I got. I've said it on this show plenty of times. I didn't grow up with the Pirates doing well. I didn't get to grow up looking up to guys like Roberto Clemente, Willie Stargell, Bill Mazeroski, all the people that made the Pirates have a face and have a threatening appearance. So what do I get? I get Barry Bonds. I get Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire. Those guys were prominent names when I was born and as I was growing up. Some of which I didn't realize took steroids until I was in my teen years. So what do you do then? It's hard to like it. Nobody of those guys, as I grew up, is going to be eligible for the Hall of Fame now because somebody's going to judge them for cheating and being victims of the circumstances of their time. That hurts me because all those guys I looked up to now are being shamed by baseball, and nobody's being represented from the people that I looked up to, and that just hurts. So we're wondering, where's the attendance? Where's the excitement in baseball? I'm letting you know now. I've said it before. I'll continue to say it. It's hard to like baseball. It really, 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 really is. And a lot of things that made me excited about baseball as I was growing up are just starting to really hurt my feelings inside as I continue to mature into young adulthood. So that's my opinion. Baseball's hard to like. If you don't like it, I don't blame you anymore.
Can I ask you a couple?
Of course you can. Chip your back.
No, and I let you finish your point.
Did you?
So here's a couple of questions. Now, knowing now that what you didn't know then when you were idolizing these certain players, knowing that they did cheat, do you not look at them through a different lens now, knowing what you know now,
No,
as opposed to the lens you looked at then?
I believe they're a victim of their circumstances.
No, they're
as silly
a
as
victim
it
of their
seems.
choices. They chose.
I'll
to do
say
what they did.
one guy, two guys, Ryan Braun, Alex Rodriguez. I don't like them because they cheated multiple times, and then they lied about cheating. That's not okay to me. But the early steroid usage between 1995 and 2010, I'll say anybody who was doing it, I mean, peer pressure is real. I mean, we want to act like peer pressure is not real. It's like, do this or don't perform well and get kicked off the team. Like, I get that too. That kind of stuff was happening. Like, hey, juice up, you should try this. Oh, it'll help you perform a little better. It'll make you feel a little better day to day. There are some young players that might not have known any better legitimately who have been stained by this era. We don't know. I think it's too ambiguous to just judge these people for being cheaters, and there are a lot of them that were a victim of circumstance.
No, I would have to agree to disagree. They're a victim of their own choices because they chose to take the paths that they took. Same way with Pete Rose. Pete Rose chose to bet on baseball even though he knew that it was wrong. And subsequently, they dropped the house on him, and he got what
Give
he
me some
decided.
steroid users. I don't care about Pete Rose.
Okay.
Give me some steroid
So the last
users.
thing I want to say, and it's sad that you don't like baseball because I don't like baseball either.
I didn't
You know what?
I didn't
You
say
know
that
what?
either.
You know what about baseball? I love the game of baseball, and the reason why is because it was the first sport that I was taught to love. Because back when I was growing up, NFL football was in its infancy. The NBA wasn't really paid much attention to. The NHL only had 6 teams. You fell in love.
I'm going to hit you with the timeout real quick. That's awesome that you grew up that way. The opinion today is it's hard for people like me to grow up with it. I never said I didn't like it either. I said it's just hard.
We're not going to belabor the point because I want to do on location and shout out to a couple people.
Yeah, sorry.
Here's what I appreciate, your perspective on it. Chief said he respects that too.
Thank you, Chief.
I respect Chip's perspective on it, and that's why they can agree to disagree. Like me and Smoking Jim on his points, I can't agree to disagree. They're not based on facts. And I wanted to shout out to a guy, Randall Bogarts, watching from Lincoln, Nebraska. He said it's a weaker show without Guns humor. And I wanted to tell you that your first time watching, Chip's been on the show for 11 years. We have different appointments and different humor. Me and Guns can go toe-to-toe with our sarcasm and ball busting, and we appreciate Guns when he filled in, and he's on the list to fill in at any time. So thank you for that shout-out and wishing him to be on the show, but keep watching because we do try to entertain you. Tony from Chick-fil-A said Smoking Jim is way out of the ballpark because he doesn't know the ballpark. Amy gave us different scores. I don't repeat her scores normally because at first she said the Penguins were losing. Now she said the Penguins are winning 3-2.
It's 3-3.
So Smoking Jim, who doesn't know hockey, and we appreciate that. Dave Cable made a kudos to Chip for allowing Nick to finish his point without interrupting. Dave Cable.
Thank you, Dave.
We got all that in. Now, I see points on both parts. My thing is, I always say follow the money. I'm going to get a little crazy and above Jim's pay level. But if you follow the money, you find out where the corruption is. When baseball was down and out, all the strike and different things, people weren't watching it. They know girls love the home run. They love the long ball.
Ask Ralph Kiner.
Yeah, so they love the long ball, made millions of dollars for Ralph Kiner. So guess what? They saw, here's a way we can cheat and blame the players for it and let them go. We won't. We have rules against stuff like that. And by the way, with anybody that thinks they're innocent, they're not. To get steroids when you're not prescribed from a doctor, there's a problem there. So some of you, with the knowledge that you don't have, it's hard to make an exception from what Ron Cook's saying and what Chip believes, because the use of steroids was straight up illegal. It had to be prescribed from you. So if you're not getting scripts and you're getting steroids from your buddies, or
Get it from any
or
Gold's
you're
Gym
getting
back
from
then.
Balco like Smoking Jim got steroids because he was Urkel.
Or trusted teammates and coaches. There's that.
Well,
I mean, that's not necessarily the player's fault.
But that is not a prescription. Like, wouldn't you say we have laws that you're supposed to go by in general, like a red light, seatbelt, no smoking in certain areas?
Are vitamins supposed to be good for you?
Yes.
What if they were told that they were some sort of just general
Great
enhancement?
Well,
point.
I've taken vitamins my whole life.
Ignorance is no
And
excuse.
here's what
It might be.
Here's what a person like Barry Bonds, who was a great athlete and took all kind of supplements, vitamins.
Oh, I
and
believe he
things.
knew what he was doing. I'm not saying
Well,
that.
that's why you can't throw that out when one who Smoking Jim loves was a liar, and there's others that if you know something's not right, you're a good person. You know what's good and bad.
I'm saying
Don't pick the bad. Pick the bad.
There are some young
like
players.
Chip's alluding to.
There are some young players early on who I genuinely believe didn't know what they were doing.
Thank you.
Barry Bonds, I believe, knew what he was doing.
Well, here's what I'll tell you. I think people can play dumb, and some are just plain dumb. No offense meant to you if you're watching and you're dumb.
they might be, but they're
That
athletes.
does not.
They're not paid to think; they're paid to
in my
perform.
book,
I'm just
That
no
doesn't
offense.
make it right. How does that make it right? And we're running out of time, and I'm not agreeing to disagree. I'm just saying the point out there is the truth. And please stay Joey strong.